What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is SlammerIV, and today I am very excited to be bringing you a match of Littlewargame between myself, SlammerIV in the top left, and my opponent, DragonArcherZ in the right side of the map. I'm going to be playing as mech here. I've opened up with a 1 workshop expand. My opponent is playing Rax, as opened up with a 1 castle expand. So we're going to have a really normal, solid game here between the two of us. I wanted to do another showcase of mech versus Rax. I think DragonArcherZ and myself have been playing quite a few of these close-fought mech versus Rax games. And I wanted to continue to showcase this matchup. I think a lot of people, some people think mech is too strong, some people say Rax is too strong. I personally think they're quite balanced, and I think this match showcases how balanced it is and how close it is between these two races. So yeah, I'm excited to show you these guys this game. Kind of want to talk about the build orders really quickly. I'm gone for the mill play, where I get a mill, and then I get plenty of gats, and you kind of do a 2-base push. My opponent, DragonArcherZ, has gone for just basically a fast 3 castle off of 1 barracks. So he's just going to be building lots of archers. Archers are really good at defending against mech pushes because while they can't fight catapults straight up, in small numbers you can micro the archers well and really focus things down and stutter step really well and basically kill a bunch of stuff. Looks like Daz messed up his blink there. I had gats ready to kill it even if he blinked in, but he tried to scout in, but I killed it with this gyro, or gat. And then I'm also going to expand myself here. You can see me sending my worker away as I just scout with my gyro. Looks like I may not be doing the push that I was talking about here. I think I might just be going for kind of a more safe play and getting a 3rd base up. Now my 3rd base is going to be a little bit later than his, but if you look at the worker counts, it's very, very equal. So really the speed of his 3rd base is not hugely a problem as long as I get my 3rd base in the next couple seconds. Which I should be doing here soon. And I am actually going to be pulling 3 workers and do some light pressure with these gats. One of the things you can do with gat gyro is you can send gyros to like the main, for example, draw a couple archers away, and then do lots of damage with your gats on the front because his archers just can't be in every place at once. So you should be able to get a couple workers with this sort of build, which you're going to see me do in a second here. Micro is not as good as it could be. I think I should be focusing down these workers a little bit better. I get 2 workers killed, do lose a couple of gats here for free. You can see his archer play is pretty good here. He's picking off units just from range here. And overall, as you can see by the worker counts, I think that's about an equal trade. I kill a couple workers, I don't really lose too much. I lose a couple gyros and that's it. But I am up on workers, and I'm going to be able to expand pretty quickly at the 3rd. But he is mining longer off of his 3rd, and is going to quickly replace those workers because he's producing off of 3 castle. So at the end of the day, that's pretty much an even trade. Neither of us really gaining much of an advantage either way. In general, though, I'm pretty comfortable here because I have a better worker economy, and my 3rd base is, perfectly fine on its timing. And I've kind of had a look at what he's doing. I know he's going for the 3 base, and he doesn't have a lot of Rax units, so I don't need to be too concerned about counterattacks yet. If we look at the income tab really fast here, you can see that we're basically even. Slight advantage for DragonArcherZ because of his faster 3rd base, but I've also killed slightly more than him. So really, really even game, all things considered, at this point. Total income is basically dead even at this point, as we have basically dead even worker counts and both of us mining off of 3 bases. So, mech versus Rax. We have a 3-base setup after just some small skirmishes. The game is basically even. What I'm going to be doing here is just playing a slow mech style with lots of catapults here. I'm already towering up my 3rd base in preparation for defense. I've set my gats over here on the left side to try to kind of spot out if he decides to push or anything. Meanwhile, DragonArcherZ is just macroing up off of 2 barracks. He needs to get lots of units out in case I'm doing some sort of 2-base push. He hasn't had a lot of scouting information across the map. So if we look at his vision, for example, he actually doesn't know whether I've taken a 3rd base or whether I'm actually pushing him. So he has to get lots of units because you have to respect that 2-base push from mech, especially on a map like Ravage, which is pretty small. And because he lost his raider early game, he wasn't able to get any vision on when my 3rd base timing might have gone down. So at this point, he's collected a lot of Rax units, so it's about time for him to maybe edge out on the map and try to do a push. This timing in the game, really, Rax shouldn't get much done with this push. I think in the actual game, I was a little bit surprised that he even tried this push. Usually pushing into catapults and towers can get yourself into a lot of trouble. But when you have such a healthy army count here, looking at about 80 supply, I suppose it's pretty fine to at least poke away and see if your opponent has made a mistake. My gyro is coming down here to pick off his building 4th worker, although really unfortunate for me, his worker actually somehow dodges my gyros and I don't see it. And then he decides to start pushing in with his catapults. So he gets one catapult out pretty quickly. However, a couple of his archers have already gone down. He's splitting his archers well to try to stop himself from taking full damage. I've pulled some workers to repair, which are really helping a lot. A lot of DPS is going down on this Gat, for example, getting no damage down. But he does pick off my catapults, so a good play from him. And I have to pull my units back. Bit of a mismicro on my part. I should have been controlling these catapults better than I did, and that allows him to get really good damage off of me and actually take a nice supply lead. So a bit of a misplay on my part. I have my gyros in the middle of the map have been picking off reinforcing units. Unfortunately, I leave that one behind. I think it wasn't hotkeyed, which is unfortunate for me. So I lose an extra gyro that I shouldn't have lost there. But it does force him to pull his units back, which gives me breathing space to get a couple more catapults out. Overall, a really good engagement by him, though, and I think that's a good textbook way to see how small units of Rax forces can actually take out mech troops. So it may feel like if you're the Rax player that you can never do damage to Rax, but I think DragonArcherZ shows in this game that you definitely can do a little bit of damage. However, the game continues. While I did lose quite a few units, it wasn't for free. He lost several archers as well, and he's only now taking his 4th base. So once again, in general, mech is going to be a little bit behind tempo-wise as far as expansions. However, if you're the mech player, don't panic when that happens, because you can take your bases a little bit later and still be generally fine. Especially as long as you keep your worker count at a good level. You can see I'm consistently building workers. So even though he does get his 4th base up now, and I don't have a 4th base yet, because I lost that army, I have to actually wait a little bit longer. At the same time, I'm continuing to build lots of workers. And you can see me using these gyros as kind of a map control tool, make it a little bit harder for him to actually expand here. I believe I have my +1 attack already on the way. I do. Well, actually I don't. Never mind. I just have speed on my gyros. A bit of a misplay here. I lose a gyro. Again, I think it's really good to not build too many gyros, but just a few here and there are, I think, really handy for scouting and harass and stuff. You can see I'm replacing them. I don't usually build too many gyros, just I sprinkle them in here and there. So at this point, I'm taking my own 4th base. Again, a little bit later than his, but my worker count is good, so it's fine. I'm going to start sending out catapult drops across the map, and that's a staple of a mech play. All mech players should do this. Make sure you send out the drops. But as far as the Rax player goes, you can see DragonArcherZ is actually setting up his base well to defend. He's got a tower here. So if you think about trying to drop the main base, this tower covers this entire quadrant right here, basically. So it's very tough to drop catapults without coming in range of the tower and slowly getting DPS down. Same with this tower, although I would like this tower to be out a little bit farther than where it is. And same with this tower. There is a dead spot right here where a catapult can drop and hit this mine and this mine. So you have to watch out for that. Sometimes it's good to add a 3rd tower between the bases just to stop any of those drops, but I'm not sure if I am able to abuse that position. Meanwhile DragonArcherZ is going to now try to attack into the middle. He's got a nice drop here, which is a nice setup to engage mech forces. You can drop your mech troops on the top and really do some good damage. You can see good micro here. He dodges a couple rocks, but I do have droppers myself, which enable me to save a couple catapults that were going to die. And then his archers really just get totally pwned by my catapults once the catapults get actual hits on. But this is a really good engagement for DragonArcherZ. He's actually hitting like a little bit before my really dangerous mech ball gets to a full force. Meanwhile, I didn't see what happened over here. It looks like the drop got cleaned up, but it looks like several workers did die because DragonArcherZ is down to 38 workers, where he was about 50 before. I do have the tower up. The tower helps a lot, just soaking damage and adding in a little bit of DPS in the top. I've also been able to trade out a couple of my other units. Do I drop it? I do drop it. You can kind of see here that even though he got a good engagement here, at the end of the day, a couple good catapult shots are enough to kill several Rax units. All it really takes is a couple rocks, and Rax units are in deep trouble. So even though his initial engagement was good, the later engagement was a little bit less good. And my catapults slowly clean him up here. I'm even getting a good repair off to save that one catapult. However, the tempo play that he did here was enough to stop me from getting my bases saturated. You can see I have a little bit too many workers at one of these bases, and my main is actually mined up, so now I'm transferring that over here. So in general, he's going to be decently ahead in army or in army value, and I'm a little bit concerned with how the positioning is working here because I know his 4th base has been up for a while. So now basically my strategy here is to take control of this mine, which should also give me control of this bottom left mine. So mech, you kind of want to be attacking and expanding in the same direction because your army is slow. So I can defend this base and also kind of attack these bottom bases in the same tempo with my mech army positioned in this position. That's why I'm kind of moving my units down and starting to secure towers. The other thing you really want to do with mech is add lots of towers down. I, in general, don't really have enough towers this game. I think my eco was a little worse than I wanted it to. I also don't have enough workshops. I only have 3 workshops. Should have about 5 in this type of scenario. I am getting a catapult drop down. Once again, keep an eye on that worker counts. I don't think I get any really good catapult drops down, but I am annoying him here. And he's also sending a drop of his own here to try to chase down my catapult. So now I've decided enough is enough. I took a decent trade, so I know his army's got to be a little bit weakened, and I've decided to send my mech forces across the map. I have a nice catapult force, and this catapult force will kill this base very, very quickly. Oftentimes, I like to just click the base and not even worry about anything else, because you have to respond very quickly in order to deal with this base, and to deal with these catapult pushes. Like, this catapult will click this base down in literally a couple seconds, as you're going to see in just a second. However, he does try to cut off reinforcements by moving towards the middle of the map with his Rax forces. Which is kind of fine. He does clear out a tower, but I just pull my units back and start clustering them up again. I also like the way that DragonArcherZ uses a ballista here to deal with droppers himself. It's a nice play. You can see that he's also going way more heavy into catapults than archers here. Archers really start dying hardcore to catapults later in the game, so it's much better just to have mass soldiers. Our soldiers take more catapult hits, and in general are just better because they're melee. The range of the archers fight is actually bad for them because the catapults like to fight in a ranged engagement. We'll just focus them down. Also, for anti-air, he's using the ballista, so he doesn't even need the archers for anti-air necessarily. This is a pretty good engagement for him. He's killing a lot of soldiers. He's killing a lot of workers here. However, now that my catapults and gyros are in position, I can just kind of clean him up. I think he lost. Oh no, never mind. For a second, I thought he lost his ballista, but no. He just dropped it off there. But these soldiers do get cleaned up now that the main army is dead. However, he does clean up my counterattack force at the same time. So we kind of trade army for army at this point. And these archers doing their best work. He does have +1 range on them, but they don't quite outrange the tower. At this point, Daz has secured his rightmost base, so he's still on 5 bases now. And he's trying to secure his 6th here, whereas I have only been stuck on 4 bases. So at this point, I really need to secure more bases in order to make this game secure. I did kind of win a fight on the left side of the map, but I didn't secure this position. Really, I want a castle with like 4 to 5 towers in this position at this point. And now I know he has his base on the right, so I have to swing my forces to the right, otherwise I'm going to get completely cleaned up. I do start throwing towers down to secure this top right base, and I start pivoting my forces towards the right side of the map. This army comes pushing into the middle, but that's kind of fine because I'm able to now kind of segment it off. And I do have towers and catapults in position to fight these Rax soldiers. Now granted, it looks like these soldiers are going to get a really good surround and kill some of these units, but now that my catapults are in the middle of the map, I can now fight here. Really, the game, it gets really chaotic at this point. He's got not too many anti-air units, so I start leaning on my gyros a little bit more than I was previously, forcing him to get anti-air. And now he kind of sends his workers, this is probably a mistake, sending his workers into my catapults. He has plenty of them to spare, so it's fine, and he really wants to deal with this army. But the amount of troops I have here is just a little bit too hard for him, and I clean everything up really efficiently. And I also have these gyros here, and he has basically no anti-air. So if I had another 4 to 5 gyros, this would be even worse for him. But as it is, my catapults are trading fine, and my gyros are going to clean everything else on the ground. His soldiers finally get into a position where my catapults can't quite shoot them, which is a little unfortunate for me. I lose several catapults here because of that. But I do have reinforcement catapults to come in. This is a situation where I really would love to have some droppers, because I could have saved all those catapults and repaired them if I had droppers. My upgrades are really starting to tell here. I have +2 armor, +1 attack against +4. So actually I'm a little bit behind in upgrades. That's an artifact of being behind in gold. Generally mech is going to be behind in upgrades you'll find in games like this. However, I'm also able to finally secure my top right base while all this is going on. And really, I'm trading pretty efficiently against all these units. I've killed a lot of workers. He's down to 28. I think I got a hit off on his third mine here because his worker count is really, really low at this point. And I'm finally securing my right and left bases. He has this base, but he's not mining from it. I'm sending a couple catapults to deal with it as well. Finally, my drop ship arrives, and I start to kind of collect my units. You can see here I have tons of money, but I don't really have enough production to take advantage of it. I really could use another couple workshops in this match at this point. And my towers here are going to defend me from this paltry Rax force that's trying to counterattack me. Of course, really upgraded Rax units do kill towers so quickly, unfortunately. But it's not going to be enough, because eventually my catapults are in position to deal with it. Ooh, he loses a full dropship full of units. That's rough. Really, really rough there for him. But he is getting his Rax units right on top of my forces, which is really unfortunate. I do miss micro my dropship too. I could have just pulled all these units back and like defended to a tower, which is I think what I eventually decide to do. But in general, that was a fairly even trade, all things told. Looking at the supply, I'm a little bit ahead in supply. And I am getting +4 armor on my units. I just need a couple more gyros here, and I need to not lose these gyros so easily. Once again, I'm suffering from just not enough production, really. I've queued up like 4 catapults on each of my workshops, but he just comes in with a massive force here when I'm least expecting it, and he gets a great cleanup on my units. Once again, just not prepared. I think if I had just pulled my units back to a tower and like gathered up my troops, Daz is so broke at this point. Maybe a drop here, and I would have easily won this game because I am securing my left base and this base, so I have all the money in the world. I just don't literally have the catapults to deal with his forces, and they're not building anytime soon. I'm doing my best to micro my catapults here, and Daz is also doing a really good job of continuing to pressure in. Oh, he gets a snipe. If I'd gotten that dropship away, I didn't realize I have a dropship on the top right either. And he's actually killing my production. I have plenty of money, just I can't spend it in time. I'm trying to fractally throw down a workshop over here. I'm down to 1 workshop. I'm throwing workshops here, I'm throwing workshops here. I'm realizing what a mistake I've made, but it's a little bit too late. Too little, too late. Every time he kills a workshop, a dropship, then there's no way for me to further save my catapults. He's just streaming Rax units across the map, just a couple at a time. A couple raiders being added onto this force. I have 3 catapults left, and I do clean up his ballistae, but now it's just too late because the soldiers are in position. And I'm just really unhappy here because I have 1k gold, but he's on top of my production. He's actually going to finish off my +4 armor. Really, really close game. I think tactically I actually am at an advantage here, but I have to GG out because he's on top of my production. In retrospect, it's possible I could have stayed in this game, to be honest. I could have probably thrown a mill down at each of my expansions and tried to really lean on mill play. I don't think he has any ballistaes out, and he really has only 10 archers. So really, Daz pulls out a win at the last possible second. You can see that my goal is at 1k. I have secured this mining base and this mining base, and the bottom left. So I'm actually a gold mine up on Daz here. And if I had just microed this a little bit better and not lost so many catapults, I think I would have easily won this game. But Daz really pulls off a wonderful victory here. Victory from the jaws of defeat. You can see he's basically out of gold at this point. He's just scrapping together a couple of units. Now, of course, he could get these mines better saturated, but even so, I would have had an upgrade coming. I would have had +4 armor, which would have negated his +4 attack. And I think I would have been in a great position, but just not enough production really is my downfall. Anyway, I thought that was a really cool Rax versus Mech game in general, though. I do hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I will certainly catch you next time.